Welcome, Bookman fans, back to the channel, or if you're new, which you probably are, welcome to the channel. I'm going to start this review by being brutally honest. I recorded this and spent an hour or two editing it. I put in all these funny little edits. They were really cute. I added music. I thought it was kind of funny. And when I went to export it, I had to buy a full version of the video editor that I used, or I had to send an invite code to 10 friends who also had to download it for me to just save the video I edited. And obviously, I have no friends to send it to. So we're gonna, unlike my previous videos on this channel, this one's just gonna be free form, no edits. I'm just gonna sit and talk about the book, what I liked and disliked, and we'll see where it goes from there. If you guys like this format better, just leave a comment. I'd much prefer to do videos like this and not edit. Um, like anybody's watching. Okay, first, let's introduce the book. True Quest by Grant Anderson is the first book that I got to read, uh, breaching my slump that I was in due to a heavy workload from school and student teaching. Really prevented me from reading anything that I wanted to that wasn't a text on pedagogy. Um, so this was a nice change of pace. True Quest, the author Grant Anderson. Big shout out to Mr. Anderson who sent me a free virtual copy of the book. I went ahead and bought a physical copy though off of Amazon because I like to put books on my shelf and because I like to support a small author when I can. Uh, just brief sort of summary overview of True Quest. True Quest is what I would consider epic high fantasy. And for those who aren't nerds and don't understand what that means, basically we have a world that's different from Earth, which makes it sort of high fantasy. So we have tons of fantastical creatures in this story. We have the classic Tolkien dwarves, elves, orcs. We also have some other subclasses of species that you might have seen in maybe Dungeons and Dragons or other role-playing games. So we have like goblins and demons and ghouls and different types of ghosts and so on and so forth. I say that covers sort of the high fantasy aspect of it. I also consider it epic because we have a larger nation that we're dealing with, a large world with high stakes, which makes it have that sort of epic scale. I forgot to mention this earlier, but also the formatting of this book on the physical copy I have is really nice. Just the layout of the text, cover, but here, look at this. We have a map. Every good fantasy story has a map, right? So nice map. We have a little bit of talk of all the gods in this world. If you want to look right here, all the deities. Pretty cool. And like even the chapters, we can get to that real quick. The chapters have nice editing on them as well. Like look at that. The swords through that nice font. So that was nice to see while reading. But yeah, so high epic fantasy. We go on a tale with two feature characters. One's an elf, one is a human, and we sort of taken through their story. There's a lot to enjoy here. It's very high, fast paced, not high paced. So the story, it's a very easable, digestible read. Um, it wasn't too hard to get through, and I appreciate that aspect of it. That's not to knock it by any means. There's a lot of action here. The story is always, there's always that next thing that the characters are going to do and the roadblocks ahead. So, you know, that works well in tandem with the high pace and the high action. It's like an action movie, I guess you could say. So I really enjoyed that. To talk about maybe the writing style a little bit and the prose or the writing itself. If I had to compare it to one popular author, I would say the writing style. This one's similar to a Brandon Sanderson. It's not very flowery or you know going into great detail about all the layouts and stuff. It does go into detail about these things, of course, but it's definitely shorter, more to the point prose, and I really enjoyed that. It like I've probably talked about 18 times already. It works well with the pacing of the book, so I enjoyed that. A lot of good story beats here. Um, there's an interlude that occurs near halfway through the book, which I enjoyed. It gave me a deeper appreciation of the characters, of course, to get their backstory. It was a little jarring, albeit because it does sort of kill the momentum that the story was building to this point. The characters sort of how the story structures. We're on this scale, Freytag's pyramid, uh, and that sort of kills the momentum when we hit the interlude because Mr. Anderson, the author, is essentially telling a new story with two characters who are in the present timeline, but as we go into their backstory, but still, uh, it does kind of hit you in the face, and it takes a minute to sort of get with that, and then continue on with the main story. This is not to say I didn't like the interlude; I enjoyed it. I just wonder if maybe there was another way to approach that character building to make it less in your face, jarring, and sort of scattering the structure of the storytelling. Um, there's also a couple line errors with like where quotation should be with dialogue and sometimes a word missing to make the syntax of the sentence like grammatically correct. But I see that as a product of publishing a book. That's a very large scale, taxing challenge to take on. And so sometimes little things like that will slip through. And I mean, those things aren't really don't bother me maybe as much as other reviewers or readers. I mean, they'll throw me off at first, but I'll get right back on track with the reading. It's really not that big of a deal to me. But overall, True Quest, digestible, fun action adventure. It has lots of Dungeons and Dragons, D&D, role playing, video game vibes, if you will. Um, it's narratively structured in the same way that maybe a campaign is or a video game is, and I enjoyed that. Um, True Quest, I mean, it isn't high literature. It's not something that a professor is going to be obsessed with or an expert in the field is going to write some literary analysis on and terminology that no one understands, which makes me like it more. I really enjoy the story. Quick read, something you can sit on your nightstand, pick up before you go to bed at night, read a couple chapters, and it's honestly just it's a fun time. And I can never knock a story for that. I really enjoy stories that especially in the fantasy genre, that really emphasize the fantastical part of it. We have a lot of different fantastical creatures. We have a whale that can fly. I mean, I love those kind of things when I'm reading fantasy, and this book does a great job of really like hitting on those things and executing them really well. To wrap up this video, to give my official Bookman rating for True Quest by Grant Anderson, I would give True Quest a 3.5 stars out of 5. Very fun, easy read, like I've mentioned in the review, easy to get through, entertaining. There's nothing like necessarily that's experimented here that's going to give me like a 5 star, but I mean, it is the author's first novel, so there's gripes to be had with any author's first writing. But this is a great first start to this author's writing catalog, I would say, and their skills will only improve in the future. So I think this is a good place to start. So I would definitely a recommended read 3.5 stars out of 5. And thank you all for watching.